There once was a man who lived in the forest with his 3 sons and beautiful daughter, and though they liked their little house and made do with what they had, it was no secret that their poverty affected them greatly, and they often went hungry. One day, a carriage drawn by 6 horses in ornately adorned caparisons arrived at their modest cottage, and out stepped a noble with a striking blue beard who asked the man for his daughter's hand in marriage. Wishing for his daughter to have a fortunate life, the man agreed. His daughter was skeptical of the noble upon meeting him and learning of his wish to marry her, as she had heard of this Bluebeard before. There were rumors that he had been married many times before, and that his wives had all disappeared from town. Fearing that he was a horrible man, to whom no woman could stand to be married, she objected to the arrangement. After meeting Bluebeard and speaking with him at length, however, she found him to be a kind and charming man. This, and her longing to be released from poverty, led her to accept the proposal, and they readied the carriage to depart for Bluebeard's castle. As she bade goodbye to her family, she added, "Should this Bluebeard I know now be a facade, rest assured I'll bring his head back on a pike." When they arrived at Bluebeard's castle, he helped his bride down from the carriage and showed her around her new home. Everything was splendid and luxurious, with servants at the ready to fulfill her every request. As she was not used to this lifestyle, Bluebeard called off most of the servants for the first few weeks after her arrival. Every day they found something new about each other to appreciate, and they grew to love each other. But some things did stick in the back of her mind, like the town rumors about her husband, and the way he would pick at his food and spend time in a mysterious room into which she was discouraged from going. When she asked why he didn't want her to see what was in the room, Bluebeard replied, "I fear that if you see what is in there, you will cease to love me." One day, Bluebeard had business to attend to in another kingdom, and he would have to be away from his wife for a few days. Kissing her goodbye, he handed her the keys to the castle and set off in the carriage. She passed time by reading books, attempting to have conversations with the servants, whose politeness had seemed forced and timid, heads bowed so as not to meet her eyes, and sewing a cape in the large sewing room. But the keys were always in the corner of her eye, and the door to the mysterious room seemed to loom across the hall as she stitched. When she couldn't take it any longer, she grabbed the key ring, marched over to the locked door, and began to cycle through the keys. Finally, after many attempts, a golden key fit into the lock. She turned the key and heard the door latch click. There was a creak as she slowly opened the heavy wooden door. Before her, chained to the stone walls, were corpses of 6 women with 2 small bloody holes in the sides of their necks. Beside them, a table with jars upon jars of blood stood, stained red with years of use. "Why couldn't you have just listened to me?" said a pained, angry voice from behind her. Bluebeard stood, fangs bared in rage. No, fear. She stared at him wide-eyed, still clutching the key to the forbidden room. Could her husband really be a creature of the night, one who hungers for blood and kills for the taste of it? "My love, you could have just told me." These words fell upon his ears for the first time, and shock followed. His wife embraced him. "Secrets are not becoming of a marriage, and it may not compare, but I too have felt hunger." That night she allowed herself to be turned into a vampire. As he drank from her and she from him, the two had never felt closer to one another. Surrounded by riches, she had forgotten the suffering of her father, her brothers, and the servants who worked tirelessly but would never live so lavishly. When the couple felt the pang of thirst rise, they sucked the blood of those who served them. When they felt the hunger of greed tug at their undead hearts, they stole from those who paid the taxes. For with her new hunger, she had perverted her old one, turning hope into greed.